Back in Foxborough, that is the weather lookout for this evening. Wind and rain, and although it has cleared up a little bit, there is more to come. All bad news for Allie LaForce, who'll be roaming the sidelines tonight. Allie?
Thanks, Greg. You know, I consider this mild compared to how the rain was coming down just about 20 minutes ago. They had the field covered until about 5:15. It's been raining on and off ever since. Got to ask both teams how they prepare for these type of rainy conditions. We showed up at Patriots practice on Thursday, and they were all dunking the footballs in buckets of water so Tom Brady could practice throwing a wet, slippery football. Julian Edelman was even dunking his hands in the bucket of water to get used to game time environment. Indianapolis Colts didn't have that luxury because of the freezing temperatures in Indianapolis, and we asked wide receiver T.Y. Hilton, we said, when was the last time you played in cold, rainy weather? And he said he couldn't remember, so two completely different weeks of prep leading up to this one.
All right, Allie. Indianapolis won the toss. They will receive. LeVon Brazil is deep, and we are underway. The divisional playoffs here on CBS. He will not run this one out of the end zone. And so we'll start at the 20-yard line, and that means Andrew Luck, who has had a terrific follow-up to a terrific rookie season. 23 touchdown passes against 9 interceptions. And as he demonstrated in last week's win over the Chiefs, Andrew Luck can run with the football.
And I just think that when you have that extra added dimension, and Andrew Luck can not only just move the chains with his feet, he's capable of going 50, 60, 70 yards. I just think that can be a deal breaker. And let's be realistic. Early in the season, you want your quarterback to play a little safer. Nothing to save it for here.
The Colts from their own 20. Luck rolls, throws this side, and this is tight end Jack Doyle. And Doyle is out of bounds at about the 27-yard line. The offensive line for the Colts, number 69, Hugh Thornton, the rookie of the group, the third-round pick out of Illinois. And will speedster T.Y. Hilton find the space to catch and run against New England defense as he did against Kansas City?
And here go the Colts up-tempo. Still 20 seconds on the play clock.
On 2nd and 3 to give us to Donald Brown, and Brown trying to squeeze through off the right side and only gets about a yard. Chris Jones makes the stop for New England.
I thought it was interesting, Greg, right off the bat, that the Colts try to break a tendency by throwing it to Doyle. He only had 5 receptions on the entire season.
3rd and 2, and Trent Richardson has come into the backfield. And the rain has begun to fall again. Luck to throw. It is intercepted. Picked off by Alfonso Dennard. Down the sideline to the end zone. Touchdown, New England. And now he may be ruled out at about the 2.
Andrew Luck never took his eyes off his intended receiver. He stared him down and looked like he had made up his mind to throw the ball to Brazil, regardless of the coverage by Dennard. That is just an early mistake by Andrew Luck, and maybe they are more comfortable playing from behind, but
there were early mistakes made by that number 12 last week.
And you can see right there the right foot dragging the sideline out of bounds at about the 1.5 yard line, right there. And a good spot by the officials, and that's where the Patriots are going to be in business. Just a terrible mistake by Andrew Luck.
The New England Patriots excel at getting the turnovers on their home field. LeGarrette Blount, left side, end zone, touchdown.
Barely over a minute into the game, and already the Colts are trailing the Patriots, who haven't lost a game here in Foxborough this season. LeGarrette Blount finishes the run the way you would expect a 250-pound back to do, running right through the tackle of Kelvin Shepherd. LeGarrette Blount is a big guy, and you want your players playing their best football late in the season, and that is what Blount is doing here for the Patriots. Coming on strong as they enter crunch time.
Steven Gostkowski, the NFL's leading scorer on the season with 158 points, adds the extra point. 13:41 to play in the first quarter. The Patriots turn the turnover into 7 points. The rain falling here in Foxborough, 13:41 to play, and Levon Brazil deep again for Indianapolis, as they find themselves down a touchdown to the Patriots, 7-0. It's going to be run back either, so we'll start at the 20-yard line.
Well, last year, Andrew Luck brought this Colts team to Foxborough, and it was a tough day. It was a 3-interception day for Luck. The first one there, Aqib Talib, he returned it 59 yards for a touchdown. Alfonso Dennard, he gets him again. That's a pick six. And then finally, there's a third one from Tavon Wilson. And wouldn't you know it, not even a minute and a half into the game, Levon Brazil, the intended receiver, and Dennard just wrestles it away from him. He wanted it more, and he gets 6 points for his effort.
Luck threw 3 picks last week. He's thrown 1 today. Donald Brown, left side for a couple. The Patriots 4-3 defense. Chandler Jones has had a fine year with 11.5 sacks. Yet another key injury. Middle linebacker Brandon Spikes went on IR this week. Dane Fletcher starts for him. And we expect Pro Bowl cornerback Aqib Talib to figure prominently in the defensive scheme against T.Y. Hilton. 2nd and 7. Luck moving. Hit as he threw, and it's incomplete. Pass intended for number 84, Jack Doyle. And big-time pressure coming up behind Luck.
I think Chandler Jones, he's going to work on left tackle Anthony Costanzo, and you can see that Jones just overpowers Costanzo and gets in on Andrew Luck, and he does definitely make contact with him before he's able to release the ball. Chandler Jones, their first-round pick last year, 11.5 sacks. This guy, he shows the kind of development you desperately want to see from a player in his second year.
Luck now on 3rd and 7. With time, crossing pattern, and that pass across the 20-yard line is caught by T.Y. Hilton, but he is blanketed, and it'll be a punt.
Well, there's Aqib Talib, number 31, and that's a matchup that we were looking for here this evening. Hilton this time coming inside from the slot, and you can see Talib is in a trail position, but the reality is that pattern run by Hilton was about 1 yard beyond the line of scrimmage. And a 3rd and long, what good is that?
Julian Edelman with 3 career punt returns for touchdown of his own 21. Still on his feet. And across the 40 to about the 42-yard line, where Cam Johnson wrestles into the ground. We have a penalty marker down. Our referee tonight is Pete Morelli.
During the return, illegal block in the back. Number 53, the receiving team. 10-yard penalty, first down, timeout.
That penalty is on a reserve linebacker, Jagarrett Davis, and it'll back the Patriots up when we come back. Way back on September the 30th of 2001, Tom Brady made his first NFL start. It was against the Colts. It was a 44-13 New England win, and Brady threw 0 touchdown passes in that game. LeGarrette Blount straight ahead.
Well, Greg, you talk about history and you don't know what's happening. I was here the week before. Dick Enberg and I were doing a game when the Patriots were playing the Jets. Mo Lewis hits Drew Bledsoe, knocks him out of the game, and in comes number 12 to play quarterback in replacing an injured Drew Bledsoe, and he never gave it up. Away he went, as they say.
2nd and 6.
Alert, Kelly! Kelly! Choose the mic, alert! Out we go!
This is Blount again. Across the 30 to about the 32-yard line. Key to protecting Brady tonight will be third-year left tackle Nate Solder, New England's first-round pick back in 11. And what a season Julian Edelman has had with 105 catches for more than 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how much the Colts move Robert Mathis around to try to take advantage of some matchups. I think he'll go after Marcus Cannon on the other side a lot. And that's where he is now.
Shane Vereen is in the backfield with Brady. And that's Vereen moving into the slot. Brady throwing to this side. Vereen with the catch. First down across the 40. Out of bounds at about the 43-yard line. Shane Vereen with 44 carries during the regular season and 47 catches out of the backfield.
Well, yeah, I think that tells you what his specialty is with this Patriots offense. He's Tom Brady's most trusted receiver out of the backfield. He's the quickest on his releases after he does his protection checks, and he has earned that trust that doesn't come easily from Tom Brady.
This is the Garrett Blunt for not very much on the right side. Up front for the Colts on defense, veteran Corey Redding's presence at end has been huge. And speaking of huge, Robert Mathis, 19.5 sacks and a sack fumble that turned the tide a week ago against the Chiefs. And with Greg Toller on IR, Darius Butler starts at cornerback, his 4 interceptions leading the Colts in that department.
Saw that Pro Bowl designation next to Robert Mathis. That was his 6th election to a Pro Bowl. Well deserved.
No-brainer this year, isn't it?
No kidding.
Brady, short one over the middle. Edelman, first down yardage and then some. Inside the 35, inside the 30. He'll be marked down at the Indianapolis 30-yard line.
Well, if you've been following the Patriots, you've seen this all year. The underneath crossing patterns. Tom Brady so skilled at throwing this pass, putting it out on his receivers so they can snap their head upfield, try to find out who's there, and you could see he took a hand to his helmet, an attempted tackle by Eric Walden.
On first down, this is Blunt to the right side, and Blunt squeezes through for about 4 yards before he's brought down by LaRon Landry.
See Julian Edelman, here it is right there. There's Walden, number 93, catches the forearm. And that was a little harder hit, perfectly legal. It's just an attempted tackle. It's not that he was looking to injure a guy. He was trying to do whatever he could do to get him on the ground, and Edelman ran through it.
On 2nd and 6, quick pass to the near side to Vereen, and Vereen to about the 23-yard line. It'll leave him about 3 yards short of a first down.
Well, again, here's where Tom Brady is so comfortable, because this is 3rd and 3 could be a running down, but in reality, with this short passing game that the Patriots use so effectively, that's almost exactly the same as a running game. Defensively, you're handcuffed.
3rd and 3. Brady with Vereen alongside in the backfield. With time, throwing, diving catch inside the 10-yard line. Danny Amendola. It'll be 1st and goal.
See, when you've got the confidence in a quarterback, the way Bill Belichick has with Tom Brady, not just a short pattern to move the sticks, try to make a big play downfield. And what a perfect throw from Tom Brady. Low and away, only Amendola had a shot at it, and he dug it out.
Rain continues to fall. It is 1st and goal.
We are approaching perilous territory here for the Colts.
This is Blunt inside the 5 to about the 2. This is a different looking New England Patriots team this year. There are a lot of people who have thought strictly that this is a passing football team. And Tom Brady told us, hey, if we don't run the ball, we can't win.
Here they go in a hurry.
Blunt, left side, end zone, touchdown.
This is, even with the gifts of number 12, the Patriots have reinvented themselves when they have to. They are a power running football team. Look at the block by Logan Mankins. Solder pins back to the inside. You get the good kick out to the outside by Hu Manuanui, and a walk-in for LeGarrette Blunt. Could it possibly start any better for New England.
Gostkowski. And the extra point is good. LeGarrette Blount plays off of a really nice block from Nate Solder. And one hand is all the Colts got on Blount, 14-0. LeGarrette Blount making his mark tonight. This is a 10-play, 74-yard drive that took up just over 5 minutes. Brady went 4 for 4, throwing the ball for 57 yards. 7:17 to play in the first. And there's LeVon Brazil hoping for a chance to run one back. He hasn't had the opportunity in 2 kicks so far. And he won't run this one out either. So the touchback means we'll start at the 20-yard line once again. Monday on CBS, America's #1 news show moves to its regular night. Josh Holloway stars in the new hit drama Intelligence, Monday at 10, 9 Central only. CBS.
Well, right now this Colts offense is under enormous pressure because I'm not sure they can count on a collapse like the Kansas City Chiefs offered them in the second half last week. This is a little more savvy defensive team they're facing here in New England.
On first down, this is Donald Brown, and Brown across the 25 to about the 27. On the other hand, Dan, an optimist might say the Colts have the Patriots right where they want them.
Well, yeah, that's an optimist who looked at one game. Now, granted, the Colts have come from behind all season. I'll give them credit for that. But a dangerous way to live, Greg. It doesn't normally pay off in the playoffs. It paid off last week. I wouldn't count on it again. Not any farther behind than this.
Luck on the 2nd and 2. Stepping up, got hit as he released the football, and it's incomplete, intended for Kobe Fleener.
Well, did you see the ball pop up in the air? It looked like at first I thought that maybe it was going to be a fumble, but then Luck was able to muscle it out of there. Jamie Collins, the rookie linebacker, I think, gets a hit. Right there, yeah, Collins is right in his chest. And Andrew Luck, again, just kind of muscled that thing out of there, and an incompletion is the best you could have hoped for there.
3rd and 2. Luck with time. And that's Fleener. And Fleener across the 35 and down at about the 36-yard line for an Indianapolis first down.
What a huge first down. And you don't want to overstate this, but you could not put your defense back out there, and you just need to demonstrate a little prowess offensively. T.Y. Hilton is limping off the field. He's coming over to the Colts sideline here, and he's a little bit hobbled. This is a potential problem if this is serious.
On first down, Donald Brown straight up the middle to about the 40. Let's go back to that last play.
Yeah, he ended up, let's watch him. He's going to come across the field. Now, remember, this is a completion to Fleener. And
Looks like a little knee-to-knee contact.
Yeah, he makes contact with Kyle Arrington. It didn't look to be anything overly serious.
Incidentally, Hilton is back on the field.
Yeah.
2nd and 6. Luck throwing, and that's incomplete. Derek Rogers, defended by Alfonso Dennard. It'll be 3rd and 6.
Well, Dennard timed that hit perfectly. That's all. He arrived simultaneously with the football and out it pops. I think if the Colts, regardless whether it was Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, they understand one thing. When they come to Foxborough, the Patriots DBs are going to be on them and on them like glue.
Luck needs the 46-yard line for a first down. it again, but this one is complete to Griff Whalen, and Whalen into New England territory and inside the 40 to about the 38-yard line for a first down.
Well, the Patriots come with six-man pressure, and that means if you're able to get it away, and Andrew Luck, again, showing how doggone strong he is, even getting hit. He is throwing that football as he's being hit on the left side and still is strong enough to muscle the completion.
Let it roll.
On first down, play fake this time. Luck stepping up down the sideline for Brazil. He's got it to the end zone for the touchdown.
And again, Alfonso Dennard, the defensive back, he's been in on everything. He's got an interception, and that time he gets burned for a touchdown, and a magnificent drive by the Indianapolis Colts and Andrew Luck. Magnificent.
Dan, we talked to them yesterday. Each coach that we talked to, they couldn't help but marvel at the calm that Andrew Luck exhibited last week when they fell behind.
Well, it's just an out-and-up pattern by Levon Brazil, and it looked initially like Dennard had good coverage, but then he lost track of the football. There was a little bit of a stagger step, and that was just the margin Brazil needed for the touchdown.
80 yards in 7 plays in 2 minutes 42 seconds, and Levon Brazil on the receiving end. 14-7 Patriots. First 2 drives just 11 yards, and then that last drive an 80-yarder. If you go back to the wild card game against Kansas City last week, Indy's offense has scored 6 touchdowns in its last 10 possessions. Deep is LeGarrette Blount. And he will not get a chance to run this one back. And Brady and the Patriots will start from the 20-yard line. Dan?
Well, you need good pass blocking by more than just the offensive line. Here's Donald Brown. Watch him pick off Rob Ninkovich. Ninkovich is going to come in right here. Now, that's a big guy. Ninkovich is a defensive end / linebacker. Good work there by Donald Brown, putting a shoulder into him. Not bad coverage by Dennard, but a better throw by Andrew Luck. And Brazil had that baby drop in right on the palm of his hand.
So here's Brady from his own 20-yard line. Brady to throw. Over the middle and nicely defended coming across the field by Darius Butler. From the divisional playoffs through the conference championship game, you can watch all the AFC playoff action live for free on CBSSports.com. Check it out now at CBSSports.com/NFL.
Tom Brady was under a little pressure. Josh Chapman got in on him and gave him a pretty good rap.
Over back.
Stephen Ridley. And Ridley out to about the 22-yard line. It'll be 3rd and 8.
This is an Indianapolis Colts defense that's been banged up pretty good in the running game. They're down towards the bottom in the National Football League in terms of yards per game given up. Yards per carry is up there, so they know they have their work cut out for them because, as we talked about it earlier, this is a Patriots team that's going to make every effort to run the ball for well over 100 against them tonight.
Brady on 3rd and 8. Under pressure, going down. Eric Walden.
It's only a 4-man pressure. Shouldn't be that big of a problem, but Tom Brady, you can see, he basically ducks. He had nothing going downfield. That was Brady saying a sack is a foregone conclusion because I have nowhere to throw the football, and I certainly am in no position to take off running with it.
Ryan Allen kicking it away. Griff Whalen stands at his own 35. High, booming kick. Whalen takes it on the run and is spun out of bounds by the Pro Bowl special teamer Matthew Slater.
Indianapolis was so close to blocking this ball. Another step, they might have had a really good shot at it.
T.Y. Hilton yet to impact this game. early as it is, 1 catch for 1 yard. He had 13 catches for 224 yards and 2 touchdowns in the win over Kansas City. Trent Richardson starts this series in the backfield with Andrew Luck. Luck with time, throwing it over the middle. Incomplete. Derek Rogers had a chance to catch that one and he didn't.
Boy, what a throw. Andrew Luck puts a little muscle behind this baby as it rockets downfield. Again, great pocket, nothing but time. And you can't throw it a whole lot better than that. He puts it right between the 1 and the 6 on Derek Rogers. These are the playoffs. That's the kind of a catch you got to make.
2nd and 10. Richardson breaking a tackle and spinning forward just a bit.
Kyle Arrington comes in off the corner completely unblocked, and Trent Richardson really has no place to go. Take a look on the left. Perfectly timed there by Arrington, and when Richardson tries to cut back, the corner is right there to make the hit. He didn't bring him down, but he blew up the play.
So the crowd coming alive on 3rd and 8. Luck down the sideline looking for Fleener. It's incomplete. Jamie Collins was with the Colt tight end down the sideline.
Well, when you can get a linebacker to run downfield and put coverage like that on a gifted receiver like Fleener, as a coach, you are thrilled. Take a look at this. Collins, the 2nd-round draft pick this year, and Bill Belichick just marvels at his athleticism. And I'm telling you what, that was great coverage.
He was a high school quarterback. He was a safety at Southern Miss, a defensive end last year. Edelman is deep. And not the greatest kick in the world. Edelman on the run across the 35. Penalty marker flies as he works his way across the 40.
Well, if that's on the Patriots, another penalty on their special teams units. It'll send Bill Belichick's blood pressure to the upper regions.
Return, illegal block in the back. Number 18, the receiving team. 10-yard penalty, 1st down.
While we have a moment, the 2014 Pro Bowl is unconferenced. It's fantasy football for real. Hall of Famers Jerry Rice and Deion Sanders will select the teams at the first ever Pro Bowl draft on Wednesday, January 22nd. Then watch the Pro Bowl live from Hawaii Sunday, January 26th. Go to NFL.com/Pro Bowl to learn more. So the Patriots start at their own 25-yard line, and this is Stephen Ridley off the right side. He'll get about 4, close to the 30. As we come up on 2 minutes to play in the first quarter.
I'm sure one of the things that the Patriots offense talked about when they were over on the sidelines was tightening up their pass protection. Tom Brady got hit a couple times. He got sacked the last time he went back to throw. Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator, Dante Scarnecchia, the offensive line coach. I guarantee you they had a lengthy conversation with the O-line about let's tighten this up. Tom Terrific getting hit a little too much.
Ridley again. And Ridley across the 30 to about the 32-yard line. You're talking
right up in there, Greg, is Antoine Bethea. And one of the best tackling safeties in football. There he is, number 41. Look at him put the shoulder right into Ridley and bring him down. Antoine Bethea, the guy is consistent. He's healthy. He's coming up on 100 consecutive starts. Plays every week.
Chuck Pagano didn't hesitate to blow his horn last night, did he?
No, Antoine Bethea is everything you're looking for in a strong safety.
3rd and 3.
Hey! Hold bandit! Bandit! Alpha, go!
Just getting the snap off, and straight ahead is Fareed, and Fareed has enough for a first down across the 35 before Jarrell Freeman comes in and knocks him down.
Well, you could hear that pop, but what a nice hole. Freeman gets right in there. That is a textbook tackle. Talk about squaring up, shedding the block, And that's what he does. He sheds the block of Dan Connolly, and look at him get right into it.
32's the mic. 180. Wait, hut.
Fresh set of downs now for the Patriots, and here is Ridley. And nothing there. The Patriots will stick with that ground game.
Well, you know, on that 3rd and 3, a good illustration. Remember the last time the Patriots were in that position, they threw the ball downfield to Danny Amendola. That time they came back and ran.
And with that, time will run down on the first quarter of this divisional playoff game. Couple of LeGarrette Blount runs and a touchdown pass from Andrew Luck to Levon Brazil. 14-7. Patriots, we're back after this. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Back for the start of the second quarter here in Foxborough. 14-7, New England with the lead and the ball at their own 38-yard line. 2nd and 9. This is Vereen. Vereen with running room. Vereen looking for first down yardage, comes up about a yard short.
Boy, don't you love a team that has enough confidence in their running game that on 2nd and 9, which is a passing down for the vast majority of teams, nice change up. And again, they get good blocking on the left side. Logan Mankins, look at Logan get into the second level and then just completely destroy Josh McNary. That's why Logan Mankins, another Pro Bowl year and just one of the best offensive linemen in football.
3rd and 1, they'll give it to LeGarrette Blount, and Blount has the first down. Forward progress is stopped beyond the line of the first down marker. So it'll be first down, New England at about the 48.
LeGarrette Blount brings such a physicality to this running game. And again, when he gets his pad level down, look at the leg drive. And it takes 3 Colts there to end up driving him backward. But lost in all that is LeGarrette Blount returns kickoffs for this team as well. That's what kind of speed he has. If he shakes loose, he's gone.
On first down, play fake, Brady throwing, Edelman over the middle, inside the 40, still on his feet, 35, 30, and inside the 25-yard line before Antoine Bethea can bring him down.
Well, play action passing doesn't mean diddly unless you're running the football. So the Patriots run it 3 consecutive times, hammer out a first down, so that play action to Ridley actually means something. The linebackers bite, and then it's the open field running of Edelman.
In a hurry, the pass to the far side, incomplete, intended for Kenbrell Tompkins.
I mean, every time Julian Edelman has the ball in the open field, you see why he's their punt returner. The guy just makes people miss. Took a long way to get to where he is, California to Kent State in Ohio, and he hurt his hand somehow. I don't know if it's a finger or a wrist, but he's in some discomfort.
Edelman 2 catches for 52 yards so far. Brady with an empty backfield now on 2nd and 10. And that quick pass incomplete, intended for Amendola and defended by Kelvin Shepard. It'll be 3rd and 10. You know, talking about that running game, Dan, Brady told us yesterday that the fact that they've been able to run the ball has saved them because the last 3 weeks they've relied on it.
But look what they're missing. Look where they are now, the 25-yard line. This is where Gronk would be running down the seam. It would be a certainty and almost impossible to defend. And that's just something that's been taken away from this offense, and they've had to adjust.
Big defensive down here for the Colts. Brady pulls it down once, then throws complete inside the 15 to Edelman for a first down.
Vontae Davis all over Edelman, doing the best to take the football away from him. We saw Dennard earlier take it away from Brazil, but not this situation. Julian Edelman is a gritty footballer.
This is Vereen. Not much there as he will be marked down just short of the 10-yard line.
It's a rotating cast of characters here running the football for the Patriots. This four-headed monster of Bolden, Blount, Vereen, and Ridley. All of them have their strengths.
Over.
And Bill Belichick plays to every one of them.
On 2nd and 8. Kareem, left side, getting blocking, works his way down to the 5. I beg your pardon, Stephen Ridley.
Stephen Ridley behind some outstanding blocking. Again, they are hammering away at the defensive right side of the Colts, running in behind Solder and Mankins. Ryan Wendell, the center, getting it done. They found something on that side, and they're exploiting it.
Go Bandit!
3 for a first down, 5 for a touchdown.
53's the mic! Alpha, go!
Give it to Kareem. And Kareem short of the goal line, but enough for a first down.
And again, the Patriots showing a passing spread look. 3 wide receivers split out to the left. And what do? They come back, handing it off to Vereen, going back the other direction. It's Josh McDaniels right now is all over the Colts on its play calling.
LeGarrette Blount now the deep back behind Brady on first and goal. Blount diving for the touchdown.
Well, normally the running back follows his fullback. James Devlin goes one hole to the outside. See Devlin 46, but Blount sees that crease back to the inside. And for, again, a big man at 250 plus, instead of running through somebody, I'll just jump over them.
LeGarrette Blount with his 3rd touchdown of the night.
And a beautifully, beautifully crafted series by Josh McDaniels.
Kostelski's kid is good. 10:54 to play in the first half. LeGarrette Blount leaping for his 3rd touchdown of the night in a 21-7 New England lead. That drive that Dan was talking about, 14 plays, 75 yards in just under 6.5 minutes. And LeGarrette Blount tying a Patriots team record with his 3rd touchdown of the night.
He's making a few fantasy owners pretty happy, isn't he? 3 touchdowns so far.
Levon Brazil not going to run this one out, so once again, the Colts will start from their own 20-yard line. Gives us an opportunity to remind you it's an all-new night of comedy on CBS. Beginning with How I Met Your Mother and 2 Broke Girls, followed by the hit comedy Mike and Molly and Mom. It all starts Monday at 8, 7 Central only, CBS.
Well, even though you're down by 2 touchdowns, you still got to try to run the football. And this is a Colts team that just can't get away from that.
So Luck from his own 20. Donald Brown straight ahead for a couple. Let's check in down on the sideline with Allie LaForce. Allie?
Thanks, Greg. I got a good inside look at the defensive unit for the Colts. After the Patriots scored the first 2 touchdowns, they were relatively calm. Robert Mathis and Jarrell Freeman, Corey Redding, all just huddling together saying they're playing with too much confidence. But after that 3rd touchdown, the intensity really picked up. Corey Redding saying, we need to shock the world, we need to mix this up. And Jarrell Freeman pacing up and down the bench trying to get these guys fired up.
Allie, thank you. Corey Redding is one of those defensive leaders. 2nd and 7. Luck stepping up, sideline. Fleener has it, and a penalty marker is thrown as Fleener moves downfield across the 50-yard line. He's marked out at the New England 48, and let's check the flag.
Illegal contact. Number 28, defense. The penalty is declined. The result of the play is a first down.
That penalty is on the safety, Steve Gregory.
Well, you know, with T.Y. Hilton struggling to get open, somebody's going to have to step up for the Colts, and it's got to be Kobe Fleener as one of those guys. What a good throw that time from Andrew Luck. Powerful to the outside on the out pattern. But Fleener's got to come up big. Brazil, Derek Rogers, these guys got to follow.
The play is good for 29 yards to the 48-yard line of the Patriots. And here's Donald Brown with room to run on the left side. To the 41. of New England, where Dane Fletcher makes the stop.
You know, Donald Brown's got a 5-yard per carry average, which in the National Football League is exceptional. He only had a little over 500 yards on the year, but keep giving it to him.
Luck on the move and run it out of bounds at about the 36-yard line.
I mean, that's just a routine movement of the chains by Andrew Luck. But I like how quick he was in seeing the Chandler Jones goes to the inside, and there's absolute no one there to that side of the New England defense. Make them pay for being that risky in your pass rushing. If you're going to get out of your lanes, make them pay. That's how you do it.
Luck changing things up at the line. And this is Brown. Not much there. Falling inside the 35. Silver Salinga making the tackle. Chuck Pagano in his second season and back healthy on the sideline.
Well, and there's not anyone in the NFL that just isn't thrilled that Chuck Pagano is completely healthy. Leukemia is in remission. It's just a great story.
2nd and 8. Luck short one over the middle to Brown. Brown wrapped up at about the 30-yard line by Dante Hightower.
Again, when Reggie Wayne went down back on October the 20th in that Denver game, so much pressure fell on T.Y. Hilton. And when a team is making an effort to remove Hilton, which is what the Patriots are doing now, the question is, who's going to step up for the Colts? Who's going to step up and be the guy to alleviate and take some of that pressure on himself? It's got to be guys like Fleener and who else?
Luck throwing over the middle and the diving catch made inside the 25-yard line by Griff Whalen.
And there's one of the guys that's got to help. And we saw earlier, Rick Rodgers had a pass that he could have caught. That time, Griff Whalen, good hands, dug it out.
First down, Indy at the New England 22. Luck, another short pass over the middle. And that is the fullback, Stanley Havili. And he draws a crowd at about the 18-yard line.
Yeah, Havili's not a guy that, just goes games at a time without a catch. And this time, he just did his best to sneak out of the backfield. And 18 catches on the regular year during the regular season. Not a threat to do much after he catches it.
First trip into the red zone for the Colts. 2nd and 6. This is Brown. Brown going nowhere courtesy of Hightower.
Well, Dante Hightower, the #1 pick of this team last year, is a run-playing linebacker. Look at the good job he does of sifting over, finding the hole, and then going upfield. And look how square he is. Look him keep his shoulders square. Donald Brown had nowhere to go. Hightower is not much on coverage. He doesn't want to do it. Man, he loves to play the run.
Indy started the game 0 for 2 on 3rd down. They've gone 3 for 4 since on conversion. Luck throwing, and that is incomplete on the far sideline, intended for Hilton, and Steve Gregory was covering that time.
I like the fact that they put Andrew Luck on the move, and right now T.Y. Hilton is still sitting on the ground, holding. There's something wrong with his left arm, left hand, wrist, something. I like the fact that Luck was on the move. How does he land? Well, hard to tell. You don't see anything really obvious.
Well, we'll check on that. Hilton trotting off the field. We'll take a break. 5:40 to play in the first half. Back in Foxborough, there is T.Y. Hilton, not looking any worse for wear as the field goal unit is on the field.
T.Y. Hilton, 1 reception for 1 yard.
Adam Vinatieri, 10 years with New England, his 18th season in the NFL. And from 36 yards, that field goal is good and puts 3 more on the board for the Colts. It's 21-10 New England. A look at Gillette Stadium here in Foxborough, courtesy of our nationwide insurance cable cam. And a slight mist continues. There's LeGarrette Blount. He's had a good game, right? No kidding. And we'll get a chance to run this one back from his own 3-yard line. Right up the middle. Breaks it to the outside and out to about the 25-yard line.
Well, T.Y. Hilton, as we talked about right before that break, is a little frustrated right now. Aqib Talib on him. That's Hilton's only reception of the game. That was good for a whopping 1 yard. Gregory that time comes over, hammers him to the ground. But again, T.Y. Hilton, a non-factor so far in this game for the Colts. And of course, if you'll just remember back to last week, he was anything but a non-factor, 224 yards receiving.
So Brady and company from the 25-yard line. And this is LeGarrette Blount with running room on the right side for about 8 yards or so. Let's check in with Allie downstairs.
Guys, when T.Y. Hilton came off of the field, he was talking to his offensive coaches. He was standing by Andrew Luck, talking about the next offensive play as though nothing was wrong. The Colts did tell us it's his same shoulder, his right shoulder, that's been bothering him for some time now, but nothing too serious to where he can't go.
All right, Allie, thank you.
Greg, you gotta love the play calling here for the Patriots.
LeGarrette Blount with a first down across the 40.
I remember games covering the Patriots where they would open up with 15 or 16 consecutive passes. Right now, the Patriots have run the ball 20 times and passed it 10 times. A 2-to-1 margin, run versus pass. Talk about being game plan specific and just doing what you think is the best way to putting a W in the column. And for the Patriots right now, that means running the football.
Alert! 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 Corey, ace! 52! Half, go!
On first down, once again, it's Blount.
He's running like a blunt instrument, isn't he?
He was he almost came out of that. There was an ankle tackle there that got LeGarrette Blount down onto the ground. I think Josh Chapman, the big nose tackle, got a hand on it. Yeah, 5 touchdowns in the last 2. He just went crazy against Buffalo. 24 rushes for 189 yards. Not to mention 145 yards on a pair of kickoff returns.
Yeah, 324 total on the day. That's the best in New England Patriots franchise history. Meanwhile, here's Julian Edelman, and Edelman is knocked out of bounds short of the 50-yard line by Darius Butler. You know, you just knew, Dan. You know, here's T.Y. Hilton coming off of this terrific game a week ago, and you just knew that Bill Belichick was probably sitting there at home watching. Well, he's not going to do that to us.
Well, there can't be anyone who knows anything about football who going into this game thought that they were going to see T.Y. Hilton light it up. Now, who knows what he might do in the second half, but against Bill Belichick and the Patriots, I think not.
Blount on third down, and this time he's going to come up short of a first down.
Well, you want to go at Robert Mathis in the running game, and this time though, but look at Mathis. You know, Mathis gets the better of Michael Huhumanuanui and pushes him into the backfield.
And Bill Belichick keeps his offense on the field here on 4th and 1.
And then all of a sudden,
not now.
Yeah, out comes the punting unit. That's a quick change.
Meanwhile, the play clock is down to 10. And they catch the Colts in a quick switch. Griff Whalen is deep. And it's going to cause a delay of game.
And the reality is, punting from this situation, this 5-yard penalty is no big deal.
Delay of game. Offense. 5-yard penalty remains 4th down.
And I say it's no big deal because the reality is it minimizes the chances of a touchback by an extra 5 yards.
Griff Whalen back at about his own 10-yard line. And we have 2.5 minutes to play here in the first half. High snap! Inside the 5. Going back to cover it is Allen. Allen lost the football, and it's out of the end zone. What was Ryan Allen trying to do?
He had a chance, and we've got an Indianapolis Colt down on the ground. That snap from Overton, not even anywhere in the realm.
Oh, he tried to lateral it
I don't know if he was attempting a forward pass
to Tavon Wilson. It didn't work.
It's got to be a safety.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's the crazy thing about it. He could have just stayed on the football right there, and at least you give your defense a fighting chance. You know, you at least give. There was no possibility of something good happening by him coming up with that football and trying to throw it forward.
They can't run.
You have possession of the football in the field of play, and it goes out the back of your end zone. That's a safety.
Meanwhile, the injured Colt is Andy Studebaker, and he is coming off the field.
The officials are still talking things over. Here's Pete Morelli.
Ruling on the field, safety.
Well, I mean, there's just no question about it. You have possession of the football there. Get tackled at your own 2-yard line, and at least you make the other team work to get it into the end zone.
Now the Colts get the ball back. Well, after all is said and done, we have a 21-12 game with 2:18 to play here in the first half. And that rookie, Ryan Allen, will now be in charge of the free kick, getting it away from the 20-yard line.
Yeah, he gets a free kick from the 20.
And this is Griff Whalen. And Whalen back across the 25 to about the 28. Let's go back to a play which usually finds a punter just kicking it through the end zone.
Well, certainly if he's back in the end zone, there's two schools of thought here. You know, you don't concede points if you go down in the field of play, and you see what happens. Yeah, granted, they might score a touchdown, but you might also limit them to a field goal attempt. I mean, anything can happen. Certainly if it's in the end zone, it's a no-brainer. You either fall on it, you take the safety, you kick it out, you do whatever. Who knows what's the right or the wrong way to go about it right there, but that was a sloppy play.
So here is Luck with the football. And 3 timeouts. Stepping up, throwing deep, looking for Brazil. Jump ball incomplete at the 30-yard line. Dennard and McCourty were with Brazil. It'll be 2nd and 10.
Well, and Dennard and McCourty were fighting each other for the football. They actually made sure that the other guy couldn't get it. At first, I thought Dennard was going to have a great shot at it, and you can see that Andrew Luck not able to step into that at all. Salinga has got him down around the waist. Ninkovich in there as well.
This is Donald Brown, left side, spun down at about the 27, maybe the 28-yard line, but no more. And with that, we reach the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes to play here in the first half at Foxborough. A look at the battle of the quarterbacks tonight. 2 minutes to play here in the first half. Luck looking at a 3rd and 10.
Tom Brady's wanting this football back.
Luck with time. Throwing. Catch is made across the 40-yard line. And that'll be a first down. T.Y. Hilton
And
on the receiving end.
And T.Y. Hilton gets his second catch of the night, and it came at a most opportune time. Great pass protection for Andrew Luck. A solid pocket in front, and that's just against the New England zone. Hilton was wide open.
Luck on the move and decides to throw that one away because the screen wasn't there, and here's a penalty marker on the near side of the field.
An eligible man downfield, number 75. The penalty is declined. Second down.
Well, they're trying to set up a screen to Stanley Havili, the fullback, and Mike McGlynn, one of the offensive linemen, wasn't able to hold his timing, and he ends up being downfield before Andrew Luck was able to just, it was a blown play. Havili was covered.
Colts have the fewest penalties in the NFL this season.
Fewest turnovers as well.
Luck throwing. And that one is across the 40-yard line to about the 39 to Griff Whalen for a first down. Clock moving at 1:40.
Boy, and a good look at what Andrew Luck can do with a football if he's just given the opportunity to step into the throw. And got there in a hurry.
Colts with 3 timeouts remaining. Luck throwing, and that is intercepted. Dante Hightower.
Boy, right in and out of the arms of Stanley Havili.
That'll get chalked up as an interception for Andrew Luck, but that just wasn't his fault. Hey, join JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, and the coach on the Verizon Halftime Report. First half highlights of this game and the latest NFL playoff news and information coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. 4 turnovers last week against Kansas City, 2 today, and this is a team that's turned the ball over only 14 times during the regular season.
You know, that pass was on the, the back shoulder of Havili, but still, that's a pass he just has to catch. You can't have it bounce off your shoulder pad right to a defender.
And now here's Tom Brady with 1:14 and 3 timeouts.
Hey, goal 34 away.
34 away.
34 away.
To the fan.
52's the mic. Off we go.
Gonna run it with Ridley. And Ridley across the 40. Forward progress will be marked at the 41-yard line. And timeout stops the clock.
New England takes the timeout. They've got all 3. That drops them down to 2. And again, just a total run-oriented game plan instituted by Belichick and McDaniels in this game. 24 runs, 11 passes. Even leading off with a run on first down when you're in the 2-minute drill.
Interesting conversation Coach Cowher had with Coach Belichick in our pregame show, the NFL Today. And boy, Bill Belichick, just what a rock he's been on the sideline. 14th season as the head coach here in New England at a time when other franchises change coaches as often as some people change their shirts.
No,
Robert Kraft says, my guy has been good for us.
Well, it seems to be working.
Yes, it does.
That makes Mr. Kraft's decision a lot easier.
Hey, 50's the mic.
Second and 5.
180. When it's hot.
Brady going to give it to Marie. There's Marie. progress marker to 40, and Jarrell Freeman stopped that one, and another timeout stops the clock with 56 seconds on the clock.
All
and
right.
This time,
I know
this time the Colts called the timeout.
I know the Patriots are in love with running the football, but there's a minute left in the first half. I think this is the time. This is the time to be throwing the ball.
Deerdorf with his offensive coordinator hat on.
Well, they're on their own side of the 50-yard line. They need to cover some ground to try to get Gostkowski into some sort of a position to try a field goal here before the end of the first half. And the first down run, I'm fine with that one right there. Not so much.
4 down. 50 to Mike.
3rd and 6. Brady, sideline, and off the hands of Vereen, incomplete.
Well, they got the look. They got the look they were looking for, going right up the sideline. But that ball was on the hands of Vereen. He looked like it handcuffed him in a way.
Steven Gostkowski is back to do the punting chores.
Ryan Allen headed to the locker room.
And that's a pretty good kick from Gostkowski. Whalen all the way back to his 6-yard line. Shakes one tackle. Trying to find running room and is down across the 15-yard line. Matthew Slater making that stop.
Well, that was a fantastic punt by Steven Gostkowski, and he knows it too.
53 yards. Again, the Verizon halftime report coming your way with the guys back in New York for first half highlights as well as playoff news and information, all on the Verizon halftime report.
Well, the Colts have 2 timeouts. They're down. Let's see. A lot of times teams will just sit on the football. Doesn't look like they're going to do it. You're the underdog on the road. Be aggressive.
Here's Donald Brown. And we'll see if the Colts will just let the clock run down with that. This is back looking at Ryan Allen on the free kick.
Yeah, he's got the free kick.
And grabs his right arm.
Wow. Now you wouldn't think that the actual act of dropping the football would have been that traumatic on his right arm, but
that may very well go back to the play where the safety was called.
You have to assume that he took a hit on that high snap that went over his head.
This will go down as the LeGarrette Blount first half. And let's go down to Allie LaForce, who's with Colts head coach Chuck Pagano. Allie?
Coach, T.Y. Hilton with just 2 receptions, Andrew Luck with 2 picks. How do you get the offense going?
Well, again, we knew coming in that they were probably going to do everything possible to leave on T.Y., so we got to go in and figure out a way to get him loose, get our quarterback calmed down. The second one was just unfortunate there at the end. That just bounced off of Stanley, and by the luck of the draw, they ended up getting it. So we got to do a better job on 3rd down defense, getting off the field, but we got a break here. We're in this game.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck in the second half. Greg?
All right, Allie, it's the end of the first half. New England leading at 21-12. We're back with the Verizon halftime report after this message and a word from your local station. You are watching the NFL on CBS. Intercepted, picked off by Alfonso Dennard. Luck stepping up for Brazil. He's got it to the end zone for the touchdown. LeGarrette Blount, left side, end zone, touchdown. Back in Foxborough for the start of this 3rd quarter, 21-12 New England. Here, let's take a look now at big returns in the first half presented by H&R Block. Starting the second half now, there is the man of the hour, LeGarrette Blount, with 3 first-half touchdowns as the Patriots will get their hands on the football first here in the second half.
You really shouldn't be allowed to have a 250-pound guy returning kickoff. That is, tackling a guy like that in the open field is hard enough without having to strap on a A guy as physical as LeGarrette Blount.
This is Blunt, and Blunt will take a knee in the end zone, and they'll start from the 20-yard line as we welcome you back here in the booth. Greg Gumbel along with Dan Deerdorf. And we heard Chuck Pagano said we have to go to the locker room and figure some things out. What's first and foremost?
But he said something very important. He said, we're in this game, and that is exactly right. Down by 9 points. This is just a classic case where everybody just do your job. If your job is to block well. If it's your job to catch the ball. Don't let it bounce off you going to the other team. It's just a case now. Every guy, play by play, do your job.
Meanwhile, LeGarrette Blount with the carry as we take a look at the first half numbers, and you will see that New England rushed for 80 yards in the first half to just 35 for Indianapolis.
I'm just trying to remember the last time I saw the Patriots play where they had such a devotion to the run game as they have shown so far in this game.
Brady on 2nd and 8, throwing over the middle, popped up in the air and caught by Michael Manawanui, the tight end. Let's check in with Allie LaForce. Allie.
Greg, I asked Coach Belichick at halftime, I said, you're running the ball well and you're forcing turnovers. What do you change, if anything? He said, this is a very explosive second half team, so we have to be obedient and stick to the game plan. He also said we have to avoid sloppy plays like the snap that went over Ryan Allen's head. And speaking of Ryan Allen, we have an injury update on him. He did injure his shoulder and is questionable to return. Greg?
All right, Allie, and that leaves open the question as to who will hold on place kicks. That remains to be seen.
I'm suspecting either Mallett or Julian Edelman.
Brady throwing, incomplete. Shane Vereen, the intended receiver, wants a penalty flag thrown. None forthcoming, and New England will kick.
Well, there's step A in Chuck Pagano's layout to his team about what we have to do in the second half to be successful. Get a 3 and out was at the very top of that list. Again, only a 9-point differential here for the Colts. Certainly a lot of football left to be played, given the fact last week they were down 28.
So here's Steven Gostkowski again. And this one not as good as the first one he got off. But it takes a New England roll. And we'll come to a stop at around the 35-yard line. So that was step 1, Day, and then here's step 2, Andrew Luck, and his offensive approach to start this half.
And again, it's just simple. It really is just one play at a time. And I know that sounds like such a cliche, but when you're behind, it's all you can do. And if you try to look beyond that, bad things happen. But again, just don't give things away. Make New England earn what they get. Don't give it to them in sloppy play.
They'll start it off with Donald Brown trying to squeeze through, and he gets about 3 to the 40-yard line. Asked Andrew yesterday if his dad was going to be here. He said absolutely. His dad, Oliver Luck, former NFL quarterback and the athletic director at West Virginia.
I thought it was interesting. We were talking to him about how often he talks football with his dad. And he said, not all that often. Maybe, 5% of the time we might talk about quarterbacking, but it's typical father-son stuff, not more than football between Oliver and Andrew.
2nd and 7. Luck under pressure, shakes it, throws, incomplete. Fleener well covered coming to the near side of the field. Chandler Jones was in on the Indianapolis quarterback.
And, Ben Roethlisberger has a reputation as just a tough guy to drag down, and you just see that Andrew Luck is that exact same mold. Yeah, now Ninkovich, I think, gets away with a hit well after the ball is gone, but look how casually Chandler Jones is shed by Andrew Luck. You got to be a big, strong man to make it look that easy.
3rd and 7.
I'd like to see Luck run.
Luck under pressure, on the move, and then throws it. Here's Hilton with the diving catch inside the 25-yard line.
Boy, that time he's able to shake Aqib Talib, and it's because Andrew Luck buys the extra time. Talib was guilty, I think, of looking into the backfield, and then when Hilton did the in and up, he was in no position to recover. Good job by Andrew of stepping up and moving forward and delivering a perfect strike to T.Y. Hilton.
And what a catch by Hilton.
Yep.
Now at the 20-yard line. First down. Luck throwing sideline. Caught by Fleener.
Beautiful back shoulder throw to Kobe Fleener by Andrew Luck. And that is a tall order for Alfonso Dennard, the corner, to try to match up with the 6'6" Fleener.
Just inside the 5-yard line. First and goal for Indy. Second trip into the red zone for the Colts. Donald Brown.
Well,
Two out the three.
We'll see if the Colts can get it in the end zone, but the plan by Pagano on how he envisioned his second half starting is pretty much playing out, I think, the way he saw it. A 3-and-out by his defense, and then a good solid drive, and getting T.Y. Hilton involved. Everything's coming in here now. Extra offensive lineman in there, Xavier Dixon.
And Ricardo Matthews as well. Trent Richardson in the backfield. Richardson with the handoff and not going anywhere.
Trent Richardson has had so many carries for the Colts where he ends up being contacted right at the line of scrimmage, and that's exactly what happened right there. Devin McCourty, the safety, is wrapped around his legs at the line of scrimmage.
And Ricardo Matthews, who was a defensive lineman in a tight end, has come off the field again on third and goal. Backfield now consists of Havili and Trent Richardson.
Well, they flashed Hilton to the one side and then brought him all the way to the opposite side.
Quick pass, end zone, leaping.
Well,
Kobe Fleener wants a penalty.
Jamie Collins, that was pretty good work by the rookie linebacker. And again, this is all the way. This is nothing more than the jump ball to the big, tall Fleener. And I think this time they were hoping that there was going to be a corner in coverage. Instead, they get to 6'3" Jamie Collins, who was really in good position.
And you saw there why Bill Belichick says Jamie Collins brings length to the game.
Right. Now that's where you're hoping the Fleener gets matched up on a shorter corner. That didn't happen.
Adam Vinatieri from 21 yards out puts 3 more on the board for Indianapolis with 10:03 to play in the third. 21-15 Patriots. The rain starting to fall a little bit harder now. 21-15 New England with the lead, and the second half has been the Colts' time of game. During the regular season, they were plus 72 in the scoring differential in the second half. This is LeGarrette Blount from 3 yards deep in the end zone. Oh, and tripped up at the 10-yard line and down at about the 12 by Cam Johnson. 9:59 to play. Tom Brady and company back on offense after this.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Universal Pictures Ride Along, starring Ice Cube and Kevin Hart, in theaters Friday. And by State Farm. It pays to double check. Talk to your agent today.
Just under 10 minutes to play here in the third, and right in the center of your picture, Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, along with his son, Jonathan. Brady. Gonna go deep. Has Amendola. Amendola to the 35. Brought down by Darius Butler.
And again, the fake handoff on the stretch play sucks everyone up for the Colts defense, and Danny Amendola slips behind everybody. Again, LaRon Landry badly out of position. He bit and went way upfield.
Here's Ridley. Back to the running game off the right side and down to about the 32-yard line. A pickup of 53 yards on the play.
But we're just back to what we talked about earlier, Greg. Play action really means something when you've been running the football. And the Patriots have been running the football. Not only effectively, they've been running it a lot. 27 rushes, 15 passes, well set up.
Brady on 2nd and 7. Down the sideline and complete. Vereen couldn't get there.
Yeah, Tom looking to get Vereen going on the wheel route up the sideline. Pretty well defended that time by the Colts.
So now it's 3rd and 7. We'll see if the Colts can withstand that big 53-yard gain.
Robert Mathis so far not that big a factor in this game.
Brady under pressure on the move, throwing, complete. Edelman inside the 25 for a first down.
Well, that time Robert Mathis looped around to the inside. And Tom Brady's able to get away from him. That's what they call a tackle end stunt. And Tom Brady, who's not known as the most nimble of quarterbacks, look at him get around to the outside. And Marcus Cannon gets away with a pretty good grab on Pendleton. But Tom Brady, credit to him. He made that look pretty easy.
Edelman 5 catches for 77 yards tonight.
Corey!
Play clock running down. He gets the snap off and the give is to Ridley. And Ridley to about the 22.
And Stephen Ridley, who's had ball security issues, getting Bill Belichick's trust here in the postseason. Ridley's had 4 fumbles this year. He lost all 4 of them. Some return for touchdowns, and it's been a couple of different trips to the Bill Belichick doghouse, but Stephen Ridley's out of it for the playoffs. For the moment. Well, as long as he holds on to the football.
2nd and 8. Play fake. And Brady under pressure and got it away.
Well, guess who?
Robert Mathis.
And Robert Mathis, from standing up, gets around Monowanui, and I'm telling you, he went for the strip sack, and Tom Brady felt him. He felt him there and is able to hold on to the football. Mathis, I guarantee you, he thought he had one. He thought he was going to be able to get that ball loose, and Tom Brady was able to hold on to it.
We were talking with Mathis about the frustrations built into the pass rushing job.
Well, you can't, I'm telling you right now, Monowanui cannot block Robert Mathis.
On 3rd and 8. Lobbing it. Incomplete. Down the sideline.
There's the flag.
Josh Gordy trying to handle Julian Edelman.
Well, and the problem was I don't believe Gordy was playing the football.
Pass interference. Number 27 defense. Automatic first down.
As a DB, you've got to have ball awareness. Gordy's looking back, but you can see right there, you can see that he's just not aware of where the ball is, and he runs the receiver right off the ball. That's going to draw the flag. That is the first penalty of the day on Indianapolis. And it's a big one.
It sets the Patriots up 1st and goal at the 5.
On a 3rd long, it was a large penalty.
80! 52!
Green, the deep back behind Brady. Brady going to throw it. Away. Edelman, the nearest Patriot, 2nd and goal.
A rare situation of the Patriots throwing the football on 1st down. They were planning on catching the Colts completely by surprise. See, New England been in the red zone 3 times, cashed in with touchdowns all 3 times. The Colts have not.
This is their 4th trip. The Colts, yes, have settled for field goals. This is Ridley. And Ridley diving forward might have reached the 3.
Well, this is Stephen Ridley's turn in the rotation. Normally in these situations, LeGarrette Blount was the running back of choice, as he's got the 3 New England touchdowns.
So 3rd and goal.
And the Patriots have been 7 of 11 on 3rd down tonight. That is a lofty number. Really good.
Ridley in the backfield. Ridley gets the handoff, trying the right side to the end zone. Touchdown.
This is not your daddy's New England Patriots. When they want to play hard-nosed, smash-mouth football, they can do it.
The 4th rushing touchdown of the night for New England.
Just good blocking at the point of attack. Mulligan's in there. Manawanui gets a good block. Connolly, Cannon. Just good old-fashioned power football.
Now, with all of the problems
let's see who's the
that
holder.
they've had, I believe they're going for 2 points
which,
here, Dan.
which means they are holder challenged. And also, they're up now by what now? They're up by a dozen.
Over.
So Ridley in the backfield. Ridley to the left side. And he got there. And a penalty marker. A very late hit after the touchdown had been signaled by one of the Colts.
Looks like.
Here comes Ridley.
Now let's see. There he's across. Touchdown is being signaled.
And here comes Darius Butler.
Yeah, Darius Butler. Whistles are blowing. Darius Butler, the former 2nd-round pick of the Patriots. Whistles were obviously blowing. Everyone had stopped playing, with the exception of Darius Butler. And again, Pete Morelli is still in conversation with the officials over on that sideline.
I think Pete kind of likes standing out there in the rain.
They may be wondering if this is a scoring play, so it can be under review. So the booth upstairs can be deciding whether or not they want Pete Morelli to come over and take a look at it. There's Stephen Ridley with the football. No doubt about it that it breaks the plane
After the
on
try,
multiple occasions.
Good personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 20 of the defense. The 15-yard penalty will be enforced on the kickoff. Timeout.
So there's the explanation. Darius Butler, the guilty party. New England, proud, of an 88-yard drive in 9 plays. And it's a 2-touchdown lead with 6:18 to play in the 3rd, and the kickoff coming from midfield. So the Colts and Andrew Luck trying to do that come from behind thing again.
Middle.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Viagra and by Domino's. Visit Domino's.com.
Well, the rain has started to come down a little harder with 6:18 to play here in the third. As you look at the total yards, but it's a different story on the scoreboard. Richardson tripped up, lost yardage. Jamie Collins again.
Well, what a play by Collins, who gets cut, knocked to the ground, and bounces back up and makes the tackle. I'm telling you, now there's an effort as he pirouettes after being chopped to the ground by Hugh Thornton, the left guard. Man, Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator, no wonder these guys are in love with Jamie Collins and his ability to make big plays with his athletic skills. He's got a bright future.
2nd and 11. Luck got rid of it just as he was getting hit. Still got it to T.Y. Hilton.
Well, that is just extraordinary by Andrew Luck. And I think it's Jamie Collins who hit him just as he was throwing it. But against the New England zone, that just is a brilliant throw. T.Y. Hilton ran a long way, but again, that ball drops right into his hand.
46-yard pickup to the New England 35. Play fake to Richardson. Luck going for it all down the middle. Got it for the touchdown. Levon Brazil.
Well, that is how you answer the other team's touchdown drive. And again, working against the zone defense, McCourty just too slow to react. Devin McCourty, number 32, was a little bit flat-footed and allowed Levon Brazil to run right by him.
Brazil's 2nd touchdown catch of the night. And
how's that for a quick answer,
3 quick plays.
That's almost like the New England defense was just sleeping on that series.
Vinatieri, the expatriate, with the extra point. 5:01 to play in the third, and guess what? It's a 1-touchdown game. Luck to Brazil. 29-22. Boy, you think back to last week and how the Colts just refused to be counted out, and you see that again here tonight. Andrew Luck, a look at what he has done. And it's a 29-22 New England lead. And this will bounce into and out of the end zone for the touchback. Let's go back to the touchdown.
Well, this time Trent Richardson is going to come over here, and he's the guy that's going to give Andrew Luck a little extra time after the play fake on Ninkovich. And I'm telling you, you can't say that Andrew Luck doesn't have a great touch on the deep ball. There's a guy who's a little fired up. And his deep passing game tonight, he has been dropping bombs right in onto the hands of his receivers. And I look at this passing attack, and I think, what would they be doing with a healthy Reggie Wayne?
LeGarrette Blount for about 7 up the middle. Let's go down to Allie LaForce. Allie.
T.Y. Hilton limped off the field. They took him over to the bench, sat him down, asked him a series of questions, and felt around his knee to check and see if it was okay. He then got up and ran some laps up and down the sidelines doing some high knee drills. Then he looked at his team and shook his head yes, as though he's okay. It is a knee injury. They're still evaluating it, but he seems to feel as though he's okay.
All right, Allie, remember back in the first half, he had a knee contact and had to leave the game briefly. This is Blount. And Blount pushed back by Kelvin Shepard.
But Blount went to jump to the outside, and when he jumped, he got met head on there by Shepard. And right now, this is that is so uplifting to a team when you have your offense do what Andrew Luck and that group just did. Bang, 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 3 plays down the field, and you're right back in it.
32 rushes, 19 passes on offense for the Patriots. 3rd and 3. Brady had to pull it down from behind, contact, incomplete across the 40-yard line, intended for Kenbrell Tompkins.
Yeah, Tom Brady's having to move around to try to fight for an extra second or two. It's just a four-man rush. And again, he can't find anybody. And then at the last minute there, Eric Walden from behind, number 93. He comes in on Tom and yanks him down.
So Gostowski kicking it again to Griff Whalen.
Some good, some bad. And he's been back there. Ryan Allen hurt. That's a better punt.
Bearcat called for and made by Whalen at about the 30-yard line. Hey, tomorrow on 60 Minutes, details of baseball's investigation of Alex Rodriguez and the only interview with the key witness. What did they find out? More than you might imagine, only on 60 Minutes tomorrow.
You know, it's right now with this Indianapolis team that you're reminded that they've had so many quality wins this year. And they've beaten the 49ers. They've beaten the Seahawks. They've beaten the Broncos. They beat the Chiefs twice. I mean, this is a team that has played a lot of playoff teams and has beaten them.
T.Y. Hilton back on the field.
That translates into confidence.
This is Donald Brown. And Brown across the 30 to about the 32-yard line. Third drive this quarter for the Colts. First one ended in a field goal, the second in a touchdown.
Andrew Luck, where is he going to be 5-6 years from now? Hard to believe that he's just coming to the end of his second year in the NFL in this much command of what he's doing.
Luck going down. And that's Jamie Collins again.
Well, Jamie Collins is making a name for himself tonight. He comes on the blitz and goes right over the top of the attempted block by Donald Brown. Watch Brown go for the cut. You go for the cut, you can't do it in that situation. You gotta front him up high, you gotta stop his progress. You can cut him like that, but he still has enough momentum to make it to your quarterback. That's just bad technique.
That is the first sack of Andrew Luck in this game. 3rd and 16. Luck with time. And that pass is incomplete. Whalen wants a penalty.
Oh, Whalen's
and
hurt.
There is none.
Whalen,
he's limping off the field.
Yeah, I don't know if Whalen slipped and fell or got knocked down or whatever, but he was on the ground, and he's a little worse for wear heading to the Colts sideline.
Let's see what Chuck Pagano is yelling about.
Here he is working against Logan Ryan, and he goes to make a break to the inside, and Ryan puts both hands on his waist. Almost looked like a wrestling takedown. How did that not draw a flag?
Julian Edelman back at his own 25-yard line. From his own 18. Edelman dancing on the sideline and goes down at about the 22-yard line. And once again, a look at Gillette Stadium and part of the crowd, courtesy of our nationwide insurance cable cam.
Even though it has been raining most of this game, it's nothing like the rains we saw in the couple of hours leading up to this game where they were almost monsoon-like conditions. We haven't had one of those during the course of this game. There were some times where it was raining so hard it was hard to see the other side of the stadium from this side.
Yeah, so, the weatherman said it would get that bad again. It has not so far.
It has not. Knock on wood.
2:05 to play here in the third quarter. Brady, the quick pass. And that's ruled incomplete.
And there was a big-time collision here.
Kenbrell Tompkins covered on the play by number 27, Josh Gordy.
And Tompkins is not getting up.
Now, Tompkins is battling a hip injury.
You got to wonder, Antoine Bethea was in there as well, and I don't know if Tompkins got hit on the head, if it was.
There's Corey Redding, the defensive end for Indianapolis. And Tompkins is up.
Okay, well, that's good. Let's look at it here. Bethea is just there waiting for him. Yeah, he does take a shot to the head from the shoulder of Bethea. It was just a glancing blow. There's no way to run that route without getting hit. It's just, you know it when you're lined up and you're going, well, there's no way around this. So at least you hope you end up catching the ball.
7.
And Austin Collie is into the game. 4 years in Indianapolis Colts. And this is Ridley. And Ridley looking for first down yardage. He's going to be marked down, I believe, just short of it.
Well, Stephen Ridley is running hard, and his line is blocking really well for him. He gets a good lead block by O'o Manawanui. The tight end that time was playing a fullback and led up into the hole with a good block. But again, Solder, Mankins, Wendell, Conley, Cannon, these guys. Bill Belichick will tell you this offensive line has been the strength of our team.
On 3rd and 1, the give is to the up back, James Devlin, and Devlin is going to be cut down short of the first down marker.
Boy, and Devlin tried to bounce it instead of pushing.
And he got bounced.
And he got, that's right, he ended up losing yardage. You're just not going to bounce it to the outside. So now that was quite a stop there by the Indianapolis defense. That was a big-time stop.
So Griff Whalen, we saw him limping a while ago, but he is back deep at the 20-yard line. That's the 4th 3 and out in the last 5 drives. Low snap this time. Gostkowski got it away and got away a good one. Whalen can't escape and goes down at the 16-yard line. What a play on special teams by Kenoris Davis. The 2014 Pro Bowl is unconferenced. It's fantasy football for real. Hall of Famers Jerry Rice and Deion Sanders will select the teams at the first ever Pro Bowl draft on Wednesday, January 22nd. Then watch the Pro Bowl live from Hawaii Sunday, January 26th. Go to NFL.com/Pro Bowl to learn more.
There are the Pro Bowlers in this game. The lone Colt, Robert Mathis, and 4 Patriots. Brady Mankin, Slater, and Talib. For Aqib Talib, it was his first selection, and he is thrilled about it.
So here are the Colts, down a touchdown, the last half minute of the 3rd quarter. And the give is to Donald Brown up the middle. He spins across the 15 to about the 16 or 17-yard line. And that appears it could be the last play of the 3rd quarter.
Right now, the wind is not a factor. The flags are pretty much hanging limply, so trying to run another play with the wind isn't a factor. And you can see Stanley Havili is down on one knee. He's got a stinger and something going on with his right arm.
We'll get a chance to look at him on the sideline as the teams change ends of the football field. Well, let's see. Nope. Yeah, they've stopped the clock at 16.
Yeah, with his injury, they'll stop the clock until they get him off the field. They'll start to wind it again once he reaches the sideline.
Stanley Havili, second-year player out of USC. And the Colts will not run another play. And time winds down on the 3rd quarter here in Foxborough. The Indianapolis Colts, the darlings of the NFL, with an unbelievable comeback a week ago. Do they have another one in them here tonight? That's the end of 3. Back after this message and a word from your local station. Along with our producer Mark Wolf and our director Bob Fishman and our terrific CBS Sports crew here in Foxborough. Greg Gumbel, the Hall of Famer Dan Deerdorf, where it's set to start the 4th quarter. 2nd and 6 for the Colts. Donald Brown. Brown breaking for the first down. Close to the 25-yard line.
Well, you just get the feeling that the Colts just are a confident football team, even though they're still a touchdown behind. Luck, Brady, LeGarrette Blount, 3 touchdowns, only 52 yards.
This is Brown again, and this time Brown brought to a halt at the 25.
Stephen Ridley's been doing a lot of the effective ball carrying for the Patriots. But Chuck Pagano, he just will tell you that there's something about this group. They've grown to be such a confident bunch that regardless of the score, they have faith. They have faith in Andrew Luck.
There's no panic. There's no panic in the team. There's no panic in Luck. 2nd and 9. Luck on the move, tripped up, and he goes down. Like Joe Volano got a hand on him, number 72.
He almost looked like he was tripped by someone. There's Ninkovich.
Oh, he did trip him.
He was. Absolutely. Volano stuck out his leg and tripped Andrew Luck. Yeah, that's
Chuck Pagano at the bottom of your screen yelling out to the officials.
Well, that is a penalty. I mean, if that was seen by one of the officials, that should have been flagged. That is not an acceptable way to tackle somebody.
On 3rd down, that pass intended for Brazil incomplete. And Dennard covering him on the near sideline.
Well, that was Joe Volano's way of ending that drive with that key play, but he was lucky. That could have very well been a 1st down awarded to the Colts for that foul that wasn't flagged.
Pat McAfee gets a booming kick away. Edelman at his own 18. And then back across the 25-yard line to about the 27. 13:08 to play in regulation. I guess the New England Patriots can run the football, huh?
They're dedicated to it.
LeGarrette Blount, 16 for 52 and 3 touchdowns.
In a passing league, they've run the ball 13 more times than they've thrown it.
Blount is in the backfield. Blount has the handoff. And Blount picking his way through, and there he goes! LeGarrette Blount!
You run the ball enough, sooner or later, they're liable to break one. Coming from the far side, Logan Mankins. At the point of attack, Michael Ho'omanawanui. And the safeties for the Colts, too close to the line, and once LeGarrette Blount is through, the big man is gone.
4th touchdown of the night for LeGarrette Blount. And Tom Brady is going to do the honors holding for Gostkowski for the extra point. Brady to hold. Gets it down and Gostkowski kicks it through. 73 yards on the gallop by LeGarrette Blount, who's checking out the scoreboard as he approaches the goal line.
Man, I look good.
Back in a very happy Foxborough. Only Ricky Waters has rushed for more touchdowns in a playoff game than LeGarrette Blount has. Waters did it back in 1994 for the 49ers. He ran for 5. And the touchback will get the Colts started at the 20-yard line. Let's go back to that touchdown.
Well, you're going to get a key block at the point of attack by Ho'omanawanui, and then Logan Mankins is going to come on. But watch this. The Colts are in a single safety because they're playing the run, which means everybody's close to the line of scrimmage. Once Blount comes through, that single safety, LaRon Landry, misses the tackle, and away he goes. You're in a run defense, and Josh McDaniels going, we ran it right through you when you were playing the run.
So once again, Colts down 2 touchdowns.
There's a false start
on the far side. Costanzo, the left
Number
tackle.
74 offense. 5-yard penalty remains first down.
So it'll be 1st and 15.
Well, they went through Matt Patricia's defense their last possession like they weren't even out on the field. I'm assuming there was a bit of a talking to when they got over to the sidelines.
Luck looks left. Over the middle, intercepted by Collins. Jamie Collins. What a game number 91 has turned in.
Well, this time the Patriots are sitting deep. The safeties are way down the field, forcing everything in front of them. And then Collins, being the rangy linebacker, is going to cover a lot of ground. I mean, he looks like Brian Urlacher getting back there that far from the line of scrimmage. Andrew Luck not anticipating a linebacker floating that far back from the line. And Andrew Luck with his 3rd interception of the game. And Andrew Luck has now thrown 6 interceptions in his 2 playoff games. And 3 last week, 3 times.
And the Colts have turned it over 7 times. Brady threw it away, running out of room on the sideline. A team that had turned the ball over just 14 times during the regular season has now turned it over 7 times in 2 games.
Well, they got away with it last week. You can't make a habit of that. Clyde Christensen there on the left, the quarterback coach talking to Andrew Luck. And again, give Jamie Collins a lot of credit. Give him a lot of credit for as far as he drops back there. No wonder Bill Belichick loves him.
On 2nd and 10. Play fake. End zone. Incomplete. Almost intercepted by Antoine Bethea.
Well, that time Tom's trying to go to Julian Edelman, who's in the back of the end zone, and I think he thought he could get it over the top of Bethea, and he was wrong. And, you know, the reality was, I didn't think that Edelman was all that open anyway because Vontae Davis was back there between the 2 of them. There wasn't a whole lot of Julian Edelman showing.
Brady, 6 straight incomplete passes. Over the middle, that was complete inside the 5 to Austin Collie.
And again, these are the areas of the field where last year it would have been Gronkowski, it would have been Hernandez, but now it's having to be this rotating cast of characters. And Austin Collie, who's been on the roster, off the roster, the former Indianapolis Colts, comes up with a big catch to put the Patriots in a goal-to-go situation here. Austin Collie, who's had numerous concussions. The Patriots have had him on the active roster, released him multiple times this season.
Had just 6 catches for 63 yards. 1st and goal. Ridley to the outside, quickly to the end zone, bumped out at about the 1.
Nice job here by LaRon Landry, number 30, and then Butler, number 20. Look at Landry. Look at him fight off the block, get upfield. He disrupts Devlin, the fullback. Cavell Connor gets in there as well, but that was really brilliantly done by LaRon Landry.
And that's Darius Butler on the near sideline.
Butler, number 20, going to go through the outside shoulder of Devlin. Ooh, and he caught his left leg, his left foot grabbed the turf, and his knee kind of flexed at an awkward angle.
Butler started tonight's game in place of Greg Toller, who went on IR this week.
I'm not the best at this, but I think the crowd is chanting, "We want Blunt." they'd like to see Blunt go for a handful. It is Stephen Ridley's turn.
It is, and Devlin, the lead blocker ahead of Ridley. The handoff, right side, looking for the end zone. Touchdown.
Again, good surge by the offensive line. Michael Manawanui has had an outstanding game. The tight end, H-back, fullback from Illinois has played a lot of complementary roles here this evening and been playing them very well.
Dan, when you hear in some circles that New England put 40, 42 points on the board, the first question is going to be how many touchdown passes did Tom Brady throw?
Yep. Right now, that answer is none. Again, you can't be around these Patriots where they don't say, "We are a running football team."
Well, referee Pete Morelli has gone under the hood to review this touchdown call, and the question, Dan, obviously, is if his knee hit the ground before.
I don't know that Pete Morelli is going to see a look to overturn
After
this.
reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands.
Yeah, there's no doubt that there was no shot of the football and his knee that could have given. See, you're going to see the knee of Ridley touch right there, but the football's not in sight, and it very well looked to me like it was breaking the plane already. So the call on the field was a touchdown. Morelli would have had to see decisive evidence to the contrary, and he did not.
Once again, with Ryan Allen in the locker room with a shoulder injury, Tom Brady holding for Gostkowski, and he does it perfectly. And we have a penalty marker down. It's like an offsides call against the Colts.
Offside, number 38, defense. The try is good. The penalty will be enforced on the kickoff.
So with the extra point, New England with a 43-22 lead.
Well, Andrew Luck has 3 interceptions. 2 of them were his, 1 of them not so much. But it started off the game, their first possession. Alfonso Dennard runs it back. He doesn't get in the end zone. He goes out at the 1, but that resulted in a touchdown. Stanley Abili can't handle that one. It bounces off his left shoulder to Hightower. But then that one is all on Andrew Luck. Tremendous play, dropping back into coverage by the rookie Jamie Collins. And Jamie Collins is having himself a little playoff show tonight that he's putting on for everybody.
Second round draft pick out of Southern Miss.
You mentioned it earlier, Greg, not many former quarterbacks end up playing outside linebacker in the National Football League.
Quarterback in high school, a safety at Southern Miss, and a defensive end. Levon Brazil,
offensive tackle next year,
will not run this one out of the end zone. A reminder for you, tomorrow the NFL on CBS rolls out the AFC Divisional Playoffs. Phillip Rivers and the San Diego Chargers, Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos. Jim Nantz, Phil Simms on hand for that one. It all begins with JB, Dan, Coach, Shannon, and Boomer on a special edition of the NFL Today presented by Southwest Airlines. More people watch the NFL on CBS during the regular season than on any other network.
And Peyton Manning, and you know what? As he goes against a almost reinvented Phillip Rivers, who's playing outstanding football. And there's just something about the Chargers. They've got some mojo going for them. Going to Denver and winning is a huge challenge, but they just got a little something about that team you got to like.
Here's Luck throwing this side of the field, and that's Fleener. Fleener with the catch, and they're wrestled down at about the 28-yard line by Rob Ninkovich.
Yep, Ninkovich, he'll drop back into coverage every now and then, which is what he did that time. And of course now let's be realistic. This is a passing game now for the Indianapolis Colts, behind by 3 touchdowns.
Luck on 2nd and 1, and overthrew Brazil. It'll be 3rd and 1.
Well, Dennard was underneath, and I think Dennard's positioning forced Andrew Luck to try to float one in over the top. Anything underneath, and Dennard was in position to pick it off, which he's already done.
The Colts tell us that Darius Butler's return is questionable with an injury to his lower leg. 3rd and 1. Luck going incomplete. Whalen, the intended receiver, and Logan Ryan was right there.
Logan Ryan, another one of the rookies that's had a great year for the Patriots defensively. 5 interceptions. He ran one back for a touchdown, a sack and a half. The 3rd-round draft pick from Rutgers has been playing a lot of good football.
Dan, I'd venture to guess that maybe if they were closer to midfield, Chuck Pagano might go for this one. But
well, wow.
He's a little too deep.
Less than a yard?
This is a little too deep in his own territory. Edelman shaking the tackle. Taking more tackle, going to the outside and run out of bounds. And here's a late flag.
All right, Julian. Don't get over there and do something you'll regret.
During the return, illegal block in the back, number 27. For the receiving team, 10-yard penalty, 1st down.
That penalty on Tavon Wilson.
Well, there's LeGarrette Blount, who's going to be, this is his series to go for the Patriots offense. And he has been making a lot of fantasy people really happy. There's one, there goes another one. Why not stop and keep on going? LeGarrette Blount, 4 rushing touchdowns, 3 of them short range, 1 long range bomb. LeGarrette Blount, after that 73-yarder, has 125 yards on the day and 4 big ones.
Meanwhile, this is an Indy defense
4 down.
that gave up 21 points a game during the season.
52.
That was 9th best in the NFL. 43 on the board for New England today. This is Blount to the 24.
This offensive line of the Patriots is just getting it done. Solder, Mankins, and then Devlin with a good lead block. Tell you what, this is textbook offensive line play. And by the way, I know the Patriots are running the heck out of the football. What a chance for a play action pass right here.
4 down.
2nd and short. The
52.
Colts will be all over the run game.
Blount not going to get the 1st down there. Thrown back.
Yeah, should have listened to me. That play action pass would have been there.
Robert Mathis along with Ricardo Matthews as we duck under 9.5 to play here in the 4th quarter. Do I hear you right that you felt that the Colts should have gone for that?
Well, I'm just with it being that short, it sure had to be tempting. You know, when you're down by 3 scores, yeah, granted you turn the ball over there, the game, I guess maybe Chuck Pagano has that much confidence in his offense that they could still get 3 scoring drives in after punting it away. That's a lot of confidence.
Read it.
James Brady has come into New England backfield now. And Brady near side of the field. And the diving catch is made at the 30-yard line by Amendola.
That is just a beautiful throw by Tom Brady, because Vontae Davis, the coverage that he has on Amendola is pretty doggone tight. I mean, it is pretty tight. He is right there, and Tom Brady puts it low and away just beyond the outstretched hand of Vontae Davis.
Over. 52's a mic. Lady. We had.
Blunt. You know, I go back again to sitting there yesterday morning and listening to Tom Brady tell us, and just no frills about it. The strength of our team is running the football.
Well, and that was their 40th rush of the day. 40 runs by the New England Patriots. And of course, Tom Brady in no hurry. He's going to milk every second off the play clock.
Go!
Classic taking the air out of the football.
Brady will play fake, pull it down once, and then hit his second receiver, and that's Julian Edelman.
Oh, now we've got another injured Colt.
That's Josh Gordy. Meanwhile, a reminder coming up, the Subway postgame show. JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, Coach Bill Cowher will recap this game, and they'll have all the latest playoff news and information coming up on the Subway postgame show.
Yeah, Gordy can't get off the field. He had to go back and take a knee.
There have been some heavy-duty injuries to this Patriots team, and there's a big one.
Yeah,
Vince Wilfork.
Yeah, he got hurt in week 4, tore his Achilles. Week 5, the very next week, they lose Tommy Kelly, the big defensive tackle that they signed to help out on the defensive line. Then the following week, Gerard Mayo, torn pectoral, their best linebacker and captain, out he goes. He and Vince were the 2 defensive captains.
And at the very top of the night, Dan, you talked about how Brady's statistics aren't what they usually are, but he may have done his best work this year, and you can say the same thing for Bill Belichick.
I think it's been a banner year for both of them. Tom Brady is as relentless a competitor as I have ever seen, and I've been around this game for a long time. We always use the term, he'd chew your leg off, and I mean, he is, the strength of will that Tom Brady exhibits carries his team a long way. And there's Bob Kraft again in the middle, his son Jonathan to our right in the blue shirt. Exemplary management.
On 3rd and 1, Blunt running for the first down across the 40 to about the 42-yard line.
And
the
again,
clock continues to move.
This is just, from a coaching perspective and an offensive line perspective, and when you're the offense and you have a lead and you know the other team desperately needs the football and you refuse to give it to them, it's one of the most satisfying feelings in the game of football. It's good stuff. It's one of the rare times that an offensive line really gets some credit.
Blunt running on left side, midfield, 40, 30, and out of bounds. LeGarrette Blunt up to 166 yards on the night.
Monowanui, number 47 there on the left. Look at the pin that he gets. Here comes Dan Conley around from his right guard position. And again, Solder, this group is just dominating up front. LeGarrette Blunt, back-to-back games, 166 yards. Again, he had 189 2 weeks ago in their season finale against Buffalo.
This is Ridley. And Ridley refusing to go down until he gets himself what appears to be another first down.
Boy, again, I hate to say this, but there's Monowanui, 47, again at the point of attack. James Devlin from fullback gets a block. Nate Solder, Marcus Cannon. And the Colts tackling right now is starting to erode.
That play selection, 43 rushes.
235 total rushing yards for the Patriots.
Alert! Corey! Alert!
Brady running out of time. Got the snap. Give it to Blunt. You know, I think it's worth it to tell our listeners, Dan, that only very recently have you mastered the pronunciation of Monowanui, and you're just wearing it out tonight.
I'm so proud. I just worked on it all year long. I'm embarrassed to say I'd find myself sitting at my desk on Tuesdays and Wednesdays trying to say the guy's name. It is a mouthful.
LeGarrette Blount has just established a New England playoff record, 169 rushing yards.
And in some vindication, Bill Belichick won't even say his name.
Oh, it's Who-Man.
It's just Who-Man. And then you have, Illinois Mike is his other nickname. His teammates don't want anything to do with saying
Timeout,
his name.
New England, first team timeout.
Oh, Manawanui.
There he is, number 47. New England calls a timeout with 4:07 remaining here in the fourth quarter in a game that they have all but wrapped up.
Right.
And
Illinois
just about punched a ticket to the AFC Championship game.
Illinois Mike won't show up on the stat sheet, but he's had a heck of a game. Jamie Collins, the linebacker for the Patriots, has had a brilliant game.
Chuck Pagano, Andrew Luck, the reality of the situation beginning to set in. They pop that up on the board here in Foxborough.
It's 30 some Mike. Hey, go Reed. 30 some Mike. Over. What did he?
Well, finally the Colts get in the Patriots' backfield.
Dano,
What?
I'm telling you that every one of our crew, you have no idea how many men and women from CBS Sports have contacted me over the last couple of weeks and asked me to pass on to you how proud and how happy they've been to have been associated with you. Ever since you remember you came back to CBS 15 years ago when I picked up the phone and called you and welcomed you, and I never thought I'd be the one waving goodbye to you.
No, I never did either. And whoa, and there's a strip sack.
Mathis appeared to get in, but it's covered by the Patriots, Logan Mankins.
Greg, just let me say something. When I was a player, the St. Louis Cardinals were in the NFC, and all our games were on CBS. And I used to look up at that broadcast booth, and all I ever wanted to do my entire life was work for CBS Sports. It's all I ever wanted to do. I worked at a CBS-owned and operated radio station in St. Louis, and I've just said this to too many people. How many people really get to have their dream come true like that? It really is all I ever wanted to do.
Well, I know I speak for all of the men and women at CBS Sports as well as every single member of our crew when I say that it has been such an honor and such a privilege to have been alongside you these last 8 years.
Thank you, Greg. And I'm not, you're not going to shake me that easily. I will track you guys down and show up for a game.
Well, I was going to say, we'll talk on the phone next week as usual, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And, thanks to all the great men and women that I've worked with here at CBS. Sean McManus, our boss, is up here in the booth. And I had those years with Dick Enberg, with Vern Lundquist. It's just been, it's hard to believe it's over, but it is. And I'm the better for it.
I do believe if there was a horse and a sunset, you'd be on it riding into it.
Well, it would have to be a Clydesdale, because anything smaller than that, I'd break that son of a gun down.
4th and 18.
The Patriots' new punter.
Stephen Gostkowski has done a commendable job on in relief of the injured Ryan Allen. And he will now try to plant this one inside the 10-yard line. Pops it up, and it's halfway back into the end zone. 2:34 to play in the fourth quarter. Patriots heading to the AFC Championship game. Back in Foxborough in a very happy Patriots crowd. If San Diego wins tomorrow at Denver, the Chargers come here next week.
Yeah, all of a sudden the Patriots become huge San Diego fans.
If Denver wins, then New England travels to Denver next Sunday here on CBS.
And what a matchup that would be, wouldn't it? Peyton Manning, Tom Brady.
Flag down!
There's something kind of perfect about that, if that's what happens.
Andrew Luck throwing incomplete, intended for T.Y. Hilton.
Rob Ninkovich in there with the hit. Ninkovich in many ways just embodies these Patriot players. Just, is he a linebacker? Is he a defensive end? We saw him drop back in coverage. Versatility and fitting a role are just so critical.
Yeah, he's basically whatever Bill Belichick needs him to be.
As are about 20 different guys on this team.
We're throwing the Kobe Fleener out here to the near side, and he steps out of bounds. You've often said the difference in these New England Patriot teams are in players, 33 to 50?
Well, yeah, I don't know that anyone pays as much attention to the back half of his roster as does Bill Belichick, because he's got a vision for how they're going to fit in. And in August, when you're in training camp, it takes some real vision to look out and see, well, this guy's going to contribute for me in December in this role. And I really think Belichick is a bit of a visionary in the way he's able to do that.
On 3rd and 2, Luck, far side of the field, and that appears to be forward progress will be just enough for a first down. Fleener hit by Jamie Collins.
It really is the point about the Patriots that, more than just being an individual position, they're a bunch of football players. It sounds trite, but it's true.
2 minutes to play. The New England Patriots 2 minutes away from a trip to next Sunday's AFC Championship game, the 3rd straight year. When the clock hits 0, Bill Belichick will have chalked up postseason win number 19 to tie Don Shula for 2nd all-time, one behind Tom Landry. It will be his 218th career win. That catch is made by Whalen, and Whalen is out of bounds. And Belichick ranks number 5 all-time in head coaching victories.
This will be Tom Brady's 18th playoff win tonight. And again, what a formidable duo those two are, huh?
And by the way, for Robert Kraft, 20 years of ownership of the Patriots, this is the 15th time the Patriots are in the postseason. Luck throwing, and the catch is made, no, incomplete on the near sideline, intended for Derek Rogers.
Well, Robert Mathis, tough loss, but what a remarkable year he's had. And I think when you stop to consider that, most of his career, he had Dwight Freeney on the other side of the ball, and people would say, well, he was getting sacks because Freeney's being double-teamed. Well, then Freeney leaves, and what does he do? He leads the league with 19.5 sacks. There's a lot to feel good about if you're Robert Mathis in the year he's had.
This would be a postseason honor coming his way. Luck going down at the 32-yard line, pulled it down twice and had no chance to reload again. Chris Jones in the backfield.
Well, again, Andrew Luck just elected not to throw it. Like you say, he did bring it down twice. He's got a good, clean pocket, steps up once, twice, nope, and then boom. Wow, he just did not see that coming.
So 4th and 6. Sideline pass, Whalen has it, and he's out of bounds, and that's enough for a first down.
Well, you never stop grinding. You don't. And I'm sure some people are sitting at home going, well, geez, why are they working this hard in a game that's unwinnable? You don't quit. It's that simple. You don't quit. You play until the whistle sounds, until the horn goes off. The game is over.
1 to 2, man, game.
Luck. Incomplete, a little too high for Rodgers, and it'll be 2nd and 10 with 1:04 to play.
Well, there's what's coming up tomorrow on CBS, that other divisional matchup between the number 1 seed and the number 6 seed. And I'll tell you one thing, whoever wins that game is going to spend a long time looking at this New England running attack and going, how are we going to counter that?
Straight ahead for a first down is Donald Brown. By the way, these Patriots were down 24 points to Denver in that game at halftime before coming back to win in overtime.
We've seen some comebacks this year in the NFL, haven't we?
Yeah. Luck. Sideline. Intercepted on the far side by Denner.
Well, Denner started this game with an interception, and he's going to finish it with an interception. Now, Andrew Luck is, inside of a minute. He's taken every chance there is trying to make something happen. He's planning on a back shoulder throw to Levon Brazil, and Brazil doesn't accommodate.
Did you see how quickly Denner turned and found the football?
Yeah, but Brazil was supposed to stop his pattern, go a back shoulder setup for Andrew Luck, and he kept right on running, and it makes Andrew Luck look foolish.
That's a career worst 4th interception for Andrew Luck, who, with his back against the wall, had to throw his way out of it.
Yeah. Keep in mind, 2 of those picks, that one right there I put on Brazil, and the other one bounced off of Eli's shoulder. I don't put that on Andrew Luck's doorstep either.
The last play of the game has been snapped. Bill Belichick is a winner. And Belichick and the Patriots will move on to the AFC Championship game. A very impressive performance, and not in the way that people generally think of these New England Patriots. Dan.
No, and a nod to the Colts. Back-to-back 11-5 seasons. They won a playoff game last week in dramatic fashion. They are young. They are an ascending team. They're not going anywhere. They're going to be regulars in the playoff picture.
And Andrew Luck will be the one leading them there too.
Yes, he will. So the New England Patriots, wow, how unusual, going to the AFC Championship game.
43 points on the board, 4 rushing touchdowns for LeGarrette Blount, and 2 for Stephen Ridley.
Well, I never saw it. I thought I'd see the day where the Patriots would run the ball 46 times against 27 passes. That's just, talk about old school football. Talk about throwback football.
Tom Brady is with Allie LaForce downstairs. Allie.
All right, take care, Darius.
Tom, when most people see that the New England Patriots scored 43 points, they want to know how many touchdown passes you threw. Instead, 6 rushing touchdowns. What does this say about the balance this team has?
Well, we've really done a great job of that over the last, month since Thanksgiving. Really, we've been a great running team, and that's really been a strength. Offensive line, what they did tonight and the way the backs ran was awesome.
You told me earlier this week that the identity of this team is constantly evolving and constantly changing. You guys haven't found out what it is yet. What did you learn about this team tonight?
Well, we don't make our own mistakes. We're pretty tough to beat. So we didn't really have any turnovers tonight, which was good. And we got a lot from our defense, who played great. And it's a really good football team. They got some really dynamic players. Andrew played really well, so it was good to get a win.
Congratulations, Tom.
Thank you.
Greg?
Well, tomorrow's winners know what they'll have to deal with next week. Final score, 43-22. The Patriots over the Colts. Coming up next is the Subway postgame show. So, for Allie LaForce, for all of us here at our CBS crew, and especially for Dan Deardorff, Greg Gumbel saying so long from Foxborough. You've been watching the NFL on CBS. We'll join James Brown in New York after this.